IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Wire Talks. I'm Sidharth. Noticing that rapidly right-wing media outlets in the US were getting ads from big companies and profiting from them, Nandini Jammi, who was working in tech startups, decided to do something about it. In 2016, she co-founded Sleeping Giants, an organization whose campaign led advertisers to run far away from the pro-Trump newsletter Breitbart after the US elections of that year. Sleeping Giants did not stop there. Continuous campaigning by them also convinced advertisers to cut ties with two very popular shows on Fox News, The O'Reilly Factor and Tucker Carlson Tonight. This meant that advertisers pulled back and the campaign won a Cannes Gold Lion and a Webby Award for public service and activism. Nandini now runs Check My Ads, the ad tech industry's first watchdog. So you understand what's happening is Nandini and her team go after companies to say, please don't promote hate television, hate websites, hate media. Indian media outlets, especially television channels, have been criticized for partisan and even hateful journalism, often spreading even fake and communal news to fit a political narrative. And yet they get ads from big companies which contribute to their profitability. So can these companies in India be pursued or persuaded to drop these ads? Let's find out from Nandini Jammi, our guest today. Welcome to the Wire Talks, Nandini.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. You had a career in marketing in tech companies working in London and Berlin, which must be very exciting. At what stage did you decide that you should now become an activist? At what stage did you notice that this was happening and these hate publications, hate newsletters were getting advertising? What happened?
Oh, that's a great question. I had no intention of entering activism or any of the work that I do today. I was working as head of growth for a small tech startup based out of Brighton, England, actually. And my boss had given me a couple £1,000 to run my first Google ad campaign. And this was back in August 2016, a few months before the elections, the 2016 elections. And I took a lot of ownership over those £3,000, and I really wanted to know where every penny was going. So I think I'm one of the only people that actually went into the site list to actually see where my ads were placed on the internet. And I remember noticing back then they were appearing on all kinds of sites that I had never heard of that didn't appear to be websites that human beings visit. I was expecting my ads to be on places like CNN or the Washington Post, and I didn't see any of that. And I saw some weird conspiracy theory sites as well. And so the idea was sort of planted in my head back then, like, what are we paying for? And in fact, when we went back and looked at what was happening, I think to this day, we don't know what happened to that money. We don't know how that, whether that money got us any new customers. But back to the point, which is, I had this idea seated in my head, where does the money go? And how is it that Google decided to put my ad dollars in all these wacky places on the internet? And then in November 2016, just a few weeks after the elections, I went and visited this website called Breitbart.com that everyone was talking about. It was a website that I'd heard a lot about, but I'd never seen for myself. So I went to check it out. And the first thing I noticed on this website was I was being targeted with ads from companies that I shop with. And these were Google ads. These ads were running the same way that my ads once ran. And so I immediately clicked for me that this website makes the money that it does through advertising. And I sort of came up with this sort of pie in the sky idea where I was like, well, what if we all just blocked our ads from Breitbart and they wouldn't make money anymore? And that's where the idea was born.
That was a pretty audacious idea, quite a leap. to say, hey, my money has gone nowhere or has gone down this hole, and I probably lost it forever without any impact. And now here I'm seeing, the moment I go on this conspiracy newsletter website, I'm being targeted with just the kind of companies that I go to. And therefore, something has to come out of this. Let's find out a bit more. So that audacious idea led you to kind of set up this, join somebody and set up this activist organization, Sleeping Giants. How did that work? I mean, you quit and you moved back?
No, I didn't quit anything. I just took on a second job. I was working full time in my head of growth role, selling product management software to the world's B2B product managers. And so together, my partner and I was very lucky to find someone on the other side of the world, because I was living in Europe at the time, who had the same idea at pretty much the same time, and we just got lucky that we found each other, and we began working on this project together. And what this meant in the beginning was, and I remember, it's all a blur, but November through, I would say, maybe February, so the next few months were just, I worked all the time. It was like what we were doing, let me just step back and tell you what the campaign was about. We were going to Breitbart and taking screenshots of ads appearing on that website, usually along a headline that was, pretty bad, that you wouldn't want to have your ad next to. And we were notifying these advertisers on Twitter and Facebook and asking them, did you know your ads are on this website? Knowing that they're probably just folks like me and him, we're marketers, it's okay. It's this is new information. So we wanted to give them a chance to respond and to do the right thing. And what we found was that advertisers did respond, and often they responded within hours, and they would say, we have added this website to our exclusion list. And this happened so quickly, and it happened in the public eye, and you could see that we were getting results. So people wanted to join us, and lucky for them, it's easy and free to do that. All you have to do is go to Breitbart, take a screenshot. We would amplify their tweet. And so all of a sudden we have thousands and thousands of people joining us to take screenshots of ads. And of course, everyone is seeing different ads because everyone has a different, profile on the internet. So we're just sort of we're reaching thousands and thousands of advertisers all at once. And it became such a big campaign that we had to maintain a spreadsheet of all the advertisers that had confirmed dropping Breitbart.
No, so just let me clarify one thing. Are you saying that there was somebody like you sitting there and putting money out there, and it showed up on something like Breitbart, but they didn't have any plans to actually put their ad on Breitbart? Is that what you're saying?
That's right. There are people just like me who started a Google Ads campaign, who focused on the things that they're supposed to focus on at their marketing jobs, which is, are we getting customers? Are people clicking on the ads? A/B testing and experimenting and all that kind of stuff that you're supposed to do as a marketer. But no one's job is to go in and actually look at where the ads are being placed. And this is the same, whether it's someone like me, just a one-person marketing team, or the biggest companies in the world. And we were contacting the biggest companies in the world.
But it's very pleasantly surprising to know that these big companies, therefore, didn't turn around and say, A, mind your own business, and B, hey, I'm getting numbers out of Breitbart. Who are you to tell me what to do? They responded positively, and it was not even a name and shame game, but they responded positively to say, this is not where I want my ad to be. So you had success also because there was a response. There was no kind of petitioning or anything like that. You didn't need to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And it's important to think about who's on the other end of this tweet. It's normal people who are just trying to do their jobs, whose job it is to make their brands look good in public. And this is where their ad ends up. This is what they're associated with. They don't want that. Brands are famously risk averse. They don't want to get in trouble. They just want to do their job and call it a day, And And this is the kind of tweet that was getting the attention not only of consumers, but it was also getting the attention of the CEO. And once the CEO sees their ad next to a vile Breitbart headline, I mean, that puts the fear of God into them. And so they were very quick to block their ads because they don't want that kind of trouble.
So the man who actually ran Breitbart at that moment, who was a great Trump supporter, for our audiences, we'll also just inform everybody here that Breitbart was a newsletter and had a website which was not only pro-Trump, but also was allegedly spreading all kinds of fake news, white supremacist stories, and really speaking some outrageous stuff. So at least people here are aware of that because we don't get to see it here. So he's Steve Bannon, who ran Breitbart at that moment, is supposed to have said that 90% of his advertising disappeared. Is that correct?
That's right. Within 3 months of the launch of our campaign, Breitbart lost 90% of its advertising. And that was because, yes, advertisers were leaving, but advertisers were also making angry phone calls to their ad agencies and to the ad exchanges. That is, the companies that automatically place these ads across the web for them. And so these ad exchanges and ad agencies were just going ahead and blocking Breitbart across their clients. So all in one fell swoop, they're losing money from agencies placing Breitbart on their block lists, from ad exchanges dropping this website entirely from their inventory. So we're talking thousands and thousands of advertisers just gone. They just completely lost access to that.
You went after Fox News after that. That was your big success, was Breitbart, but you went after two shows, very popular shows on Fox News. Fox News is somewhat more well-known in India among media watchers. It's got a particular partisan and right-wing agenda, and it doesn't stop at that. You went after these two very, very popular shows, and you had another success. But there is this criticism may have come up, and I'm just bringing it up, that you had some kind of ideological agenda, that you only were going after right-wing sites. Did you hear that a lot?
Oh, sure. We heard it all the time, but that's simply not true. We don't have a political, Sleeping Giants was never a political organization. We were very clear from the beginning that this campaign was about fighting hate, bigotry, misogyny, all the hates. And that was a mission that we applied to every campaign that we took on. With Bill O'Reilly, what happened is it became clear that he had been harassing women in the workplace and basically destroying careers for a very long time. And once that story was published in the New York Times, we felt that misogyny and that harassment was grounds for advertisers to not support that at the very minimum. And so what we did was we took that, because again, I want to make it clear, you are sponsoring that individual. It's a sponsorship. This show is brought to you by, Bill O'Reilly is brought to you by, and that's really what we focused on. Is this the kind of person that you want to put your money and your brand behind? And really what we were doing was asking a question, and advertisers didn't have an answer. They couldn't answer that question, and so they left.
So everyone was on the same page that I don't want my ad, if I'm selling clothes, I'm selling shoes, I want my ad to reach numbers, but I don't want those numbers through websites that promote hatred, bigotry, fake news, and perhaps that the behavior of the people involved there is, in today's day and age, even more vile, because misogyny at one time it may have gone unnoticed and uncommented upon, but today it's unacceptable. So everyone's on the same page. Did you meet any resistance from any organization which said, too bad, please don't tell us what to do?
I mean, there was a few stragglers. I think there was one car company that specifically said, we advertise wherever Google puts us and we don't care where it ends up. But we mostly found that advertisers were eager to use the opportunity emphasize their own brand values. So one standout example for me in the early days was Lufthansa, the airline company. They blocked their ads from Breitbart and they put out a statement affirming that they don't stand for hate and bigotry. And this was an opportunity for them to really tell their customers who they really are.
From there, you moved to set up your another organization, Check My Ads. How's that different from your earlier initiatives?
Okay, that's a great question. So I was running Sleeping Giants for 2.5 years. Most of it was anonymous. Most of it was, I was always working other jobs. I really did not want to make this my full-time job. And what happened was I could not leave it. I was sitting here being like, at what point does this work end? Am I going to be here 10 years from now notifying advertisers that their ads are on hate sites? Because it's not just Breitbart, right? There's hundreds and thousands of other websites out there doing the same exact thing. And I just didn't see an end in sight. And at the same time, I was watching the ad industry struggle with this problem and come out with solutions like they were bringing out brand safety technologies. Brand safety is the practice of keeping your ads away from disinformation and hate. I saw them coming out with all kinds of products and solutions. Conferences and events had popped up around brand safety. This was a marketer's number one priority, according to surveys. This is the stuff that keeps marketers up at night. Is my ad going to end up on a violent or hateful site? Because I'm going to get in a lot of trouble if that happens. And yet I was still seeing 2.5 years into this work, I was still seeing the same companies end up on another disinformation site called the Gateway Pundit. And that's just one site. I was monitoring a lot of sites and I was seeing the same problem play out. And I'm thinking, this is a problem that the industry has put billions of dollars into solving. There's entire companies that have entered this market to solve this problem and they haven't done it. Why? Around this time, I met my now co-founder and business partner, Claire Atkin. We were just like mutuals on Twitter, actually, and we met in real life and found that we were thinking about the same problem a whole lot. And when we met, I said to her, I was like, Claire, I think I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, and I don't want to, at least not in this way. And so we both had this question: what is happening in the ad industry that we haven't made any progress despite all this investment? And that led us to basically start studying the ad industry. We started reaching out to folks in the advertising world and asking them to give us their time and teach us how does this technology work? And we had to really sort of we started at square one. We are marketers and we thought we knew what was going on in the advertising world, but there's a whole lot of stuff that we didn't know. And we felt that if we didn't know, and we feel like we're pretty on top of things, if we didn't know, then definitely nobody else knows. And so that led us to start a newsletter called Branded, which we decided to use as a way of sort of documenting what we were learning, documenting our own journey into the ad tech industry, to really expose to marketers, people like us who want to make the right decisions in favor of their customers and audiences, and show them how these mechanisms that they use and rely on really work. How does the supply chain really work? What happens when you put your credit card into the machine and the ads come out on the other end? What's going on in that little black box? And so we started Branded, and from there we launched a for-profit company called Check My Ads, the agency. We started to work with companies who wanted to keep their ads away from disinformation and hate. And we did that knowing that they could not rely on these algorithms and technologies to keep their ads away from the kind of content they don't want to be on. They needed to go in manually and look at what is actually happening in their ads. They need access to reports and data. And we ran this company for about a year. And in this time, we learned that we could not fulfill our mission through our company. Because what we found is that even though we were working with Fortune 500 companies, powerful companies with massive marketing teams, with enormous amounts of resources, they were not able to get access to their data. And that's because ad exchanges and ad agencies wouldn't give it to them. And that is huge. They're spending millions and millions of dollars, multi-million-dollar budgets, and they cannot access the data that they need to understand how that money was spent. All they get is these high-level reports telling them, "Oh yeah, you got these many conversions, these many clicks, but where did the ads go?" And we could not get it from them.
No, but ad exchanges or aggregators or those who farm out these ads to various places. Now, if I'm a site, I can tell them I don't want ads like this. So it across the entire chain, there are procedures that click in. Now, it is possible that the advertiser, the company, says, "Give me numbers. That's all. I don't want to know anything more." And these ad aggregators, therefore, just farm out, and they've got spiders and algorithms which work out all that. So do they, in fact, have this data at all? Or is it out there in the air? Everybody is relying on these tech solutions without anyone knowing what's going on. What do you think?
Oh, the ad exchanges 100% know what's going on. Their entire existence depends on scale. Their job is to spend as much of the advertisers' money as possible in order for them to grow into their, market valuation. I don't know what all that stuff is about, but basically they need to keep growing and they need to spend more money. And so their job, their sole purpose is to convince the advertiser to spend more money. Now, where are they going to spend that money? Because there's only there's a relatively small number of websites that people actually visit. Just think about how much time you spend on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. The world's people are not visiting 300,000, 400,000 websites. That's not how it works. There's just a small number of websites. There's a limited number of ad spaces in the world. And yet the average, I won't say the average because I don't know the answer to that, but we have seen site lists that are 400,000 web pages, numbers long. 400,000 websites. Why do you need to be on that many websites to begin with? So what's happening here is that ad exchanges are spending money that they don't have to, running your ads on websites that don't serve people, because a lot of these websites have popped up just to collect ad dollars. And they've effectively formed a grift. It's one massive grift.
We'll be right back after this short break.
We know you love fast food,
fast fashion,
faster payment,
lightning fast internet speed.
Then why not fast information?
On Think Fast, where we discuss the latest developments in the world of technology, business, marketing, pop culture.
With a side of sarcasm and my dad jokes, not just mine.
Not mine, Varun. My jokes are funny. So join me, guys, the funnier one, Suchita Salvan, co-founder of LBB.
And me, Varun Dugirala, the co-founder of The Glitch, as we think fast only on the IVM network.
Fresh episodes out every Wednesday.
On the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Welcome back to the Wire Talks. Is there no way that, let's say, a massive corporation release its own ads without going through an ad aggregator or exchange? Just target it to 20 websites that they want to reach.
Well, that's the solution. In this programmatic ecosystem, and frankly, yes, technically you can run a business without programmatic advertising, but can you really? In reality, if you're a business and you need to stay afloat in this digital economy, the only real accessible way for an average small business to do marketing is to get on Google Ads. We do have a choice technically, but in reality, we don't. So we are all sitting here sort of beholden to the programmatic advertising industry, whether we like it or not. And how we change that is a different story. But yes, it is possible for us to, I want to go back to your question on programmatic. So yes, it is possible for advertisers to use inclusion lists, but they won't do it because advertisers are addicted to that scale too. So they also have these massive budgets that they need to spend, or they don't get that money in the next quarter. So everyone is addicted to spending. Everyone is addicted to these big numbers and, oh, we got more conversions, we got more clicks, we got more impressions. Can we improve it for the next round? But no one is stopping to think, well, are these, like, who is actually seeing these impressions? Did we actually need to spend this much money? So I want to give you an example of this. So we contacted a company called headphones.com. We found that their ads were running on a whole bunch of disinformation sites. We personally knew the CEO, and we knew that his distaste for disinformation. So we did an audit for them. And what we found, and this is like the general rule here, is if your ads are running on a disinfo site, that is a sign that there's a lot more messiness in your ad spend. And that's exactly what we found. Well, first of all, the CEO, his ads are running through a company called Criteo. They're an ad retargeting company. So when you go to a website to look at shoes, they'll follow you around with ads for that shoe, all over the internet. So that's what they do. And we found, first of all, that they did not give him access to his data. And what I mean by that is they gave him these sort of high level dashboard that says, these are your total conversions, these are your total impressions, these are your total clicks. But when we wanted to do the analysis of which of these websites actually led to the conversion, to that sale, we found that we couldn't do that because we didn't have the data. So Andrew, the CEO, went to Criteo and asked for this data. They made him a custom dashboard and sent it to him. And then we were able to do this analysis. And what we ended up finding out was that his ads are running on websites that based in Latin America, a region that he does not ship to, and in languages that they don't support. We found that their ads are running on a whole bunch of disinformation, like a whole bunch of disinfo sites, just really bad ones. And then we found that his ads are running on a whole lot of Android, sort of low quality crap Android apps, where his customers are not going to be, because these are like, I don't know, like $1,000 headphones. So this is a high quality, expensive product. And headphones.com was spending $1,200 a day at this time. The recommendations that we gave him led to him spending only $40 to $50 a day. So a drop of about $1,100. And there was no change in performance for him. I'm not very good at math, but I know that if you are spending $1,100 a day, there's a lot of things that you could be doing with that money, including hiring a new person, hiring several new people. I don't know. You could hire people and be doing real marketing. You wouldn't be throwing your money away in the garbage, that's for sure.
So I think fundamentally, this is perhaps a naive observation in today's day and age, but fundamentally, the problem also lies in everyone running madly towards digital advertising without really knowing what the hell is going on out there. But the idea of it, very, very appealing. Let's do digital advertising, and lots of suits sit down together and come up with this idea without having a clue of what's going on. Is that a fair way of putting it?
That's 100% correct. And it is payday for disinformation operatives. I mean, they're using the system like it's an ATM. I mean, imagine that. You can transfer a virtually unlimited amount of money to anyone in the world using ad tech. And that's exactly what's happening. And what we found over time is that thanks to our work, advertisers are quicker to block disinformation outlets. But what we found is that they're going deeper and deeper into this ecosystem, into the supply chain. So like an example of what we're finding now is that these guys are sort of hiding within what we call dark pools. So these disinfo outlets sort of enter into relationships with brand safe websites, like with Steve Bannon, for example. Literally, the company. So he works under a company called Performance One Media. Performance One Media sort of applies for accounts with ad exchanges under the impression, giving them the impression that they're going to run those ads on Weather Nation, which is just a weather forecast channel. But they share those account IDs with Steve Bannon's show, Real America's Voice. So So the advertiser thinks that their ads are going to one place and they're actually going to another place. And no one is aware of that until we dig that up, we find the relationship, and then we go to these ad exchanges and we tell them it's not enough for advertisers to be blocking a domain because they can still get money through this other means. And so now we're going to the ad exchanges and asking them to drop entire seller accounts. And this cannot be found through algorithms at this time, maybe in the future. But this is manual work. This is diving into it and really understanding how these guys are using the ad tech ecosystem, and the technology just hasn't kept up with it.
Nandini, you keep saying disinformation sites. How prevalent, how deep is the disinfo ecosystem out there? We know the big ones. There are probably, every country has a few, but how big is this entire ecosystem of disinfo, and how would you break down what disinformation is all about?
Well, the answer is we have no idea. In fact, we have no idea we have a small idea of how big the ad tech sort of global budget is. And it's about, we think, a $700 billion market. And much of this market is illicit in the sense that these ad exchanges are contracting with middlemen who work with all kinds of outlets that no one is keeping track of. And a lot of these outlets and middlemen and all the other players in this industry are linked to nothing but shell companies. So there's countless players in the system who we have no idea who they are. And we don't know how they are how or to where they are funneling this money. And it is as easy as starting a content farm with something as simple as best ice cream flavors in Toronto. I don't know, whatever. Like they know that advertisers are increasingly focused on blocking disinformation. And so they have started, and they've probably been doing this the whole time, but they run these content farms that look like they're innocent. They're who's that money going to? We don't know. And that's what we need to fight. Mm-hmm.
What I meant also was, what kind of content is going on in the name of disinformation? Is it just fake news? Is it conspiracy theories? Is it seriously hate-related, for example, disinformation coming out politically is one thing, but disinformation about religion or inflammatory kind of content. How big is this? And what does it contain? So
a few months ago, we released a what we call the $1 million Google site list. Someone leaked to us sort of like accidentally spent $1 million of his client's budget without applying the regular sort of brand safety filters and all the other guardrails that usually you're expected to do. It's just a mistake, but it happened. And we found that in this site list, which basically represents where Google will send your money without, like, when it's allowed to do whatever it wants. Like, this is its natural selection in its algorithm. Fox News was number 5 on this list of 200,000 websites. Fox News was number 5. Breitbart and Zero Hedge were both, I think Breitbart might have been 18, but don't quote me on that. Zero Hedge, I believe, was 24. In between these websites were just content farms and bullshit, and made for advertising websites. Again, like, these are just designed to mop up advertising dollars. All the way in like 1,000 something was the New York Times. Then there's a whole bunch of more content farms and piracy and other crap. And then you get to, I don't know, the Boston Globe, legacy newspapers and outlets. So
just expand in a line or two what Fox News or the others are all about, so that our listeners understand it fully.
Sure. Fox News is the most popular cable channel news with quotes news network in the United States. They have been promoting disinformation in the form of racism, in the form of misogyny, hate, bigotry, and passing it off as news to the American public, often leaving out the full story, often making wildly incorrect claims and not correcting them. They very strongly have a point of view, and that point of view is reflective of the owner of Fox News, which is Rupert Murdoch. In 2020, or in the months leading up to the election, they were, or I would say between election day and the 2 weeks after that, they promoted election disinformation, that is lies about the veracity of the election, something like 800 times. So their goal is not to inform their audience, it is to advance a point of view. And this is aligned not with journalism, but with propaganda.
Now, again, shall we just keep digital online advertising and content farms and programmatic ads aside for the moment? Those who release advertising to Fox News channels on the television channel do so knowingly, right?
Yes.
How does one stop that?
That's a great question. The goal of the campaign that we're running right now, which is about removing ads from, convincing advertisers to leave Fox News, is to understand that Fox News operates as an organism. So a lot of advertisers believe right now that if they leave Tucker Carlson and if they move their ads from Tucker Carlson to some other part, some less inflammatory part of Fox News, like their daytime programming, then they're not funding the bad stuff anymore. But actually what we have learned is that Fox News has managed to actually double their revenues since we got these advertisers to leave Tucker Carlson. And that is by bumping up in-house promos, replacing those ads with in-house promos for Tucker Carlson. For other shows, like on Tucker Carlson, other shows on Fox News that they want those audience members to watch. And then they have artificially inflated the rates, the commercial rates for that show. So Tucker Carlson didn't lose any money. They just replaced those ads with, they replaced the advertisers that had left with their own in-house promotions. And then they took all those advertisers who no longer wanted to work with Tucker, who didn't want their ads on Tucker Carlson, and raised the competition and raised the rates on daytime programming. So they're making more money there too. So what advertisers don't understand today is that Fox operates as an organism, and what they need to, the pressure really needs to be around, first of all, understanding how this operates, how this business model operates, and then linking advertisers to that and saying, well, you haven't stopped funding bigotry. As long as you fund Fox News, you're funding Tucker Carlson and you're funding that bigotry. It doesn't matter if your ads are on it or not.
What about the dangers of somebody appropriating the methods you're employing, and far-right groups start attacking mainstream publications, digital websites, which are completely professional, but the methods that you have created are going to be appropriated by them? Is that risk there? Have you seen that happening? Let's say going after progressive websites or mainstream websites. Because your success may actually rebound. Is that possible?
No, it's not possible, because advertisers, brands today have heavily invested in diversity, in equality. And some of these brands spend millions of dollars on LGBT pride, like for Pride Month, they change their logos to Pride. They invest in programs within their companies. They invest in marketing communications around this kind of messaging. They're not going to turn around and leave a progressive site that isn't promoting hate, because again, this isn't about politics, and this is something that we have to keep coming back to, because we're out here saying don't fund hate, and some people take what we do and say, well, I think you're attacking or targeting conservative media. And the fact is, We are not. We're targeting hate. We're targeting bigotry. And ultimately, we represent the interests of advertisers who have the same values and who have no desire to be advertising on these kinds or supporting these kinds of websites or this kind of rhetoric because it's not in their interest as a business.
Coming to India, how much do you know about the media scene here?
I know that it's been there's a big support for, I think, Islamophobia. I think that seems to be the mainstream narrative, and that has led to huge rise in hate crimes across the country.
That kind of covers it. Now, suppose, our websites, our advertising aggregators, our exchanges, we are getting a lot of advertising from abroad. Would your organization or your efforts be directed towards setting up some kind of initiative here? Do you think that that's the way to go international, come to countries like India where these things must be happening, but they are happening on a, shall we say, an early stage? Would you be able to, have you looked at expanding?
Well, here at Check My Ads, we are a very small team, and we just launched back in November. So we have a lot on our plate here in this country and within our organization itself, but we love working with folks in other countries who are keen to take on the same work that we have and have the cultural competence to do it in their own countries. So we have, I think, the runaway success of Sleeping Giants is actually Sleeping Giants Brazil, which started, I think it was maybe 2 years ago at this point, launched and took on their sort of local Breitbart, and just blew up. This has been an incredible. They're bigger than Sleeping Giants ever was, and I think they grew to be bigger than the original Sleeping Giants within just a few weeks. There was a lot of hunger to do something within that country because a lot of people are suffering from the results of disinformation. They are now successfully taking on propaganda within their country, and they do it using the same tactics that we do. And that's the really important takeaway, is that the tactics that we use can be translated into any country. Not only can you contact advertisers, which I would say at this point is a slow method, but you can also go to the ad exchanges. Once you identify those ad exchanges, guess what? It turns out all of this comes back to a handful of ad exchanges that are based in the United States. And what that means is that, yes, there's lots of middlemen here and there within the supply chain, but it all comes back to the same guys. And we have already done the work of forcing these ad exchanges to enforce their own supply policies. And I'm sorry I didn't mention supply policies before, but we don't do this based on our own personal, viewpoints. We don't go to the ad exchanges and say, we feel that we don't agree with this. No, this is within their own supply policies. This is the policies, the agreement that they have with advertisers who, again, want to ensure that their ads don't appear on unsafe content. They have added language within their own policies to say, we will not monetize the following. And that includes hate, bigotry, harassment, calls to violence, and a whole host of other behaviors, including false narratives and election disinformation, all that kind of stuff. So these ad exchanges, we're not asking them to do something because we feel like it. We're asking them to enforce their policies. And so we have done that work. These ad exchanges know that they're on the hook. And once that information becomes public, they can risk not enforcing their policies, but then they're going to have to answer to their clients. That's why we encourage anyone who is starting a organization of their own or starting a campaign of their own to learn how this works. And we're more than happy to train people up to use the same techniques, use the same research methods to understand who these players are and how to approach them.
Yeah, I'll just wind up with one thing, that in India, the most successful means of spreading hate and everything else that goes with it is WhatsApp, which does not have advertising at the moment. and therefore much of what you're doing will probably not apply. Slowly, we are seeing that websites are emerging, which are getting programmatic ads, but not so many. That will come a little later, but television channels are getting a lot of advertising from mainstream organizations, big commercial corporations. So it's a slightly different scenario. I don't know what can be done with WhatsApp, but ultimately, as you said, it boils down to a few social media companies and a few ad exchanges. So
that's right. I think opindia.com is very upset with me. A few years ago, I took a few minutes out of my day to contact ad exchanges about those guys. And I think we lost them a whole handful of ad exchanges, and they were running after me on Twitter, trying to harass me over that. But this really destabilizes them. When this happens, they freak out, because this is how they've been making money, and it has been unabated until someone comes along and puts a stop to it.
Nandini, on that note, I'll just wind up by saying that it is a major problem. I personally think, without knowing the ins and outs of how this works, but it's a problem that's only going to get bigger and messier over the years. But as long as there is a little bit of awareness, this problem can be addressed, at least, if not completely resolved. That was Nandini Jammi, who holds down 2 or 3 jobs or something like that, and is co-running Check My Ads, which is shall I call it a ad exchange audit site? Would that be a good way of saying it?
Oh no! Now I full-time work on the ad tech watchdog, so it's all about our nonprofit.
Okay, so she's working full-time on the ad tech watchdog, which began as a passion project for her, but now it's a full-time activity, which then goes to corporates as well as ad exchanges to say, to put it very, very simply, do you know where your ad dollars are ending up? And if they're ending up on disinformation or hate sites, do you really want that to happen? So thank you once again, Nandini, taking time off from your busy schedule. We'll be back again next week with another guest. Till then, goodbye from me, Sidharth Bhatia, and the rest of the IVM team. Thank you. You can check out this podcast and other interesting ones on the Wire website, the IVM Podcasts website, app, or wherever else that you get your podcasts. Goodbye from me, Sidharth Bhatia, and the Wire Talks podcast team.
Hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Rajiv Shastri. He's the director and CEO of NJ Mutual Funds, and they discuss direct versus regular investing and its risks and rewards. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik talks to Pallavi Agarwal, founder and CEO of GoStops, about hostel culture in India. On Smarter with Sid, Sidharth elaborates on the benefits of learning a new language. On Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Sriram, Naveen and Kajal commemorate Pluto Demotion Day by deciphering some cosmic trivia. And on the Wire Talks, Sidharth talks to Seema Chishti about her book, Sumitra and her niece, Tales and Recipes from a Khichdi Family. Hey everybody, as you know, we've been beating the horse for merchandise, and you should go and get it now before we refresh our collections. And what's there right now won't be available forever, so go get it now. You can go to ivmpodcast.com, go click on the store link, and you'll be able to find the store, or go to beyondfollow.com/IVM, and you can go directly over there and pick up the merchandise. Also, remember, if you're following this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Social media helps, but not as much of word of mouth. But if you're a social media fellow, then go to our IVM podcast handle on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and follow us there. Also, please do remember to check out all of our different YouTube channels. We have a ton of them now. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where we maintain a list of all of these channels. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week: TransUnion Civil, Boat Lifestyle, Checkpoint Software, Small Case, and Intel vPro. Thank you so much for making this possible.
सफर, रास्ते, मंजिल और मुकाम अक्सर ये हमसे कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, पर हम हैं कि अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में इन्हें सुनने से कतराते हैं। नमस्ते दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है केशव चतुर्वेदी और मैं आपको ले चलूंगा कुछ ऐसे सफर पर जहां आपको एक नया नजरिया मिलेगा सफर और मंजिलों को देखने का। आइए इन किस्से कहानियों में डूब जाएं। हर मंगलवार और शुक्रवार